Welcome to Conversation with Zaki Baruti, with your host, Zaki Baruti. And like always, I want to give a shout out to my biological family, what's happening, to the Universal African Peoples Organization family, what's going on, and to New Life Evangelistic Center family headed by Reverend Rice. Keep up the great work, and a shout out to our amazing cameraman, Bob. On that note, we don't have another great show this evening because in studio with me, I have a very beautiful and aspiring young lady who wants to make a difference in our community in a field that many of minorities and in particular black people don't engage in, and that's in the field of mechanics as relates to aviation. So I'm proud to introduce to you Ms. Genova West, who's the founder and president, I assume, of Minorities in Aviation. Welcome to a Conversation with Zaki Baruti.
I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay then. Before we begin our show, and I always have my guests to provide a little background information about who I'm interviewing. So wherever you want people, all the thousands of listeners to know about Genova West, please share.
So first of all, thank you for having me here. My name is Genova West. I'm from East St. Louis, born and raised. I graduated from East St. Louis Senior High School in 2003. And I've been interested in aviation since I was a kid. I didn't know how to get into it. So what ultimately ended up happening was I joined the Marine Corps. And when I joined the Marines, I was in for almost 10 years, and that's when I got my opportunity to actually be in aviation. I worked on helicopters as an electrician. And while I was in, I went to Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University. I got my degree in aeronautics. After I got out, I went back to school, the FAA school, to get licensed to work on aircraft engines. I'm one of the only black women in the world who's licensed by the FAA to work on airplane engines. And I started Minorities in Aviation probably 2019-20 timeframe. But back then, that's when the COVID stuff happened. I was living out in Las Vegas. So at that time, the most I got to do was just go out to schools and talk to kids about it. And fast forward to 21, 22, I'm back in Illinois again. And I got to hold my first flying event. So I do a lot of different events now. But the one that kind of kicked it off for me was doing the first flying event where I get kids from the inner city to go out to the airports and they actually get to fly real airplanes. Now, that's probably the best event that I do so far because it's kids that, you know, I've been doing this for 20 years, so I didn't say that already. And I can never forget how I felt at 12 years old being excited about seeing an airplane or being close to an airplane or just smelling it or being, you know, on a flight line. And then just to get to see these babies who would think they would never be able to do something like that, to give them that opportunity is like the biggest blessing in the world. I'm telling you, it's the best thing ever. So,
wow, that's an interesting background. First of all, we have a shared background. You grew up in East St. Louis, which I grew up in East St. Louis. What section of town did you grow up in?
I mainly grew up on 18th and State Street.
18th
up and down 18th and 18th.
Well, I grew up in the South End, so you were living a little high and mighty versus how we were living back in the day.
I don't know about all
way
that.
back in the day, okay? We were like in old-time Mississippi for real.
He said old-time Mississippi.
Yes. And actually, I worked at the school that you graduated from, East St. Louis Senior High School. But I was a rabble rouser, so I was there only for about 4 years when I had to write a public letter cracking on what I call a inefficient, I call them bootlicking Negro principal. Forgive me, folks, I just had to say that.
He said, I just had to say it.
Right. Well, on that note, though, how did you become, off air we had been talking about how you became engaged in that whole field of aviation. But before we do that, let me, when you were sharing your background, so you were in the Marines 9 years.
Yes, sir.
What motivated you to join the United States Marines, and did you see any action like, over in Iraq and all of the other, Afghanistan and what have you? Share that. What motivated you to join the Marines?
You know what's crazy is...
Now, before you answer, I was ducking and dodging in the Vietnam War. I wasn't looking. I was like Muhammad Ali, who said no Viet Cong ever called me no N-word. I was in agreement, and I was ducking. So what got you into the United States Marines?
So I didn't know, and it's going to sound pathetic, but it's true. Okay, so to this day, I'm the only person in my not pathetic, but, it is what it is. To this day, I'm still the only person in my family that graduated from college. The only other person in my family that graduated from college was murdered when I was 13. I literally didn't know that when I was 18.
You say the other person who graduated from college
was murdered when I was 13.
Murdered.
Yes,
oh,
my
wow.
auntie,
Did they ever find the killer?
It was actually her husband.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was. This is in Washington Park in 1998.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But yeah, so she was the only person that graduated from college, and I literally didn't know. This is the part I was saying was like pathetic. I didn't know it, but whatever. I didn't know. I didn't know that you could just go to college and get a student loan. I had no idea you could do that, and I was like, I wanted to go to college somehow, and I knew the military could offer that to me. I wasn't even planning on going. Let's start off with that. Right. I was basically done with my senior classes, and then one of the recruiters came to the school. He was like, I was supposed to be taking him to, meet up with some other kid who wasn't there. And he's walking with me, and he's like, oh, you ever thought about joining the military? And I was like, no. That wasn't even an option at first. But then he said, we can get you education. You can travel. I was definitely trying to get out of East St. Louis. And then, you can go to college for free and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, sign me up. Seriously, that's what. And then the Marines, out of all the branches, I guess, that was I knew it was going to be more of a challenge. Back in the way back in the day, I used to be a little roughneck. So
okay, what year we talking about?
When I joined the Marines,
right?
2004.
Okay, then. So did you do any overseas?
Yes, sir. I went to Iraq in 2008 from 08 to 09.
Oh.
Back then, it wasn't as hectic as it was in the 05, 06 time range, but it was definitely crazy stuff going on every now and again. And it was my responsibility as a maintainer to make sure that the helicopters worked. So when the ground troops called for, backup, that our, helicopters could get out there. And if they came back with bullet holes, we fixed the wiring and all that stuff.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I happen to be, just for our audience, also in Iraq. But before...
Really?
Yes. But before I get into that, we got to take a quick break.
Okay.
An epidemic of homelessness is sweeping throughout the United States of America. In city after city, people are ending up on the streets. Now, instead of feeling overwhelmed, as believers, we can do three things. We can give, we can volunteer, and we can pray. We can pray for the homeless refugees that we're finding in one city after another, all over the United States. So many people ending up out on the streets, and the hearts of so many are growing cold at this particular time and indifferent to the need. Jesus said, as oft as you've done it to the least of these, he said, even so you've done it unto me. When's the last time you've prayed for the homeless refugees in the United States of America, appearing in city after city, not only in major cities, but even smaller cities? So many people ending up out on the streets, even in resort areas, places you never think you'd find homeless people, they're there. Jesus said, foxes have holes and birds have nests, but he, the Son of Man, had nowhere to lay his head. Please pray for the refugees. Please pray for the homeless people in America, and pray for those that are on the front lines, the first responders, reaching out through Jesus Christ among the homeless and hurting, whether it's in Springfield or St. Louis. Your prayers and gifts to the New Life Evangelistic Center makes a big difference. This New Life Evangelistic Center, P.O. Box 473, St. Louis, Missouri, is 63166.
When we contemplate the grace and the love that we see in Jesus Christ and his sacrifice on the cross, we naturally want to generously give to others. We should generously give because we so graciously and generously receive from the love and the power of God to set ourselves free from sin. Remember, Christian, it is so important to generously give as a witness of the gospel that you yourself have received in your own life. It is important to give to churches, not just money, but your time and your resources as well, recognizing what you yourself have received, because all things, all good things that we have come from our Father above. Give generously and joyfully.
Welcome back to Conversation with Zaki Baruti. In studio with me is a fascinating young lady, Genova West, who's founder of Minorities in Aviation. And on the other side of the break, we were talking about you being in the Marines, being deployed to Iraq, and I had made mention I was in Iraq, but it was in 2017, and I was there as part of it, as an extension of the murder of Mike Brown. Mike Brown was one of the people that was with me, along with another activist, Anthony Shahid, and one of our members, Queen Zia. And we visited the spiritual site called Karbala, which for me was eye-opening. I had, on the Christian side, I've been in Jerusalem, but this was, for me, an awakening because there are as many Muslim pilgrimages to Karbala as it to Mecca. Everybody know about Mecca, but you know, I was in shock to find out so many folks was there, but it was a eye-opening experience. So I give praise to God for that. But we're talking about your reality,
I
okay?
had to stop
so
myself from continuing to ask more questions.
that's no problem. We'll make it back and forth,
sir.
okay then. So you were in the Marines, and you got into mechanics on working on
Yes, sir.
helicopters and airplanes. So when you got back here, I mean, my original question was, what was your early experience in terms of getting into the field of aviation?
You know,
You know, you were sharing with me what you had shared off air.
yeah, my early experience of going into aviation.
I mean, what stimulated you
Oh,
at that contest?
Okay. I was about to say, you know, I got to take a field trip once to McDonnell Douglas. Back in the day, it was McDonnell Douglas before Boeing took them over. And we got to go into the hangar, and I got to see. I was about to say,
How did you get on the field trip? But share about you got chosen.
Oh, okay. Yes. I apologize. Yes. So there was some type of competition. It was an essay competition.
At your high school?
I don't even remember. It was some type of camp, something somewhere. I don't remember. I just
and
remember
how old were you?
I was 12 years old.
You were 12 years old, and it was a contest. And
I'll never forget sitting there. You know, I'm the only black kid sitting there, and it's just like we're all sitting in a row, and they're announcing the names of the people who won, and I'm just like, whatever, man. I know I didn't win this. I know I didn't win. And they said my name. Everybody was like, me too. I was like, seriously? So I won the essay competition because I just said what I meant.
So you were in a setting at a camp,
Yes.
only black child there,
Yes.
and it was an essay.
An essay competition, and they picked me for the winner, and what you get is to fly an airplane. So the pilots take you up in the air. They call it a discovery flight, and they let you take control of the airplane actually in the air, just to, you know, get you a hands-on, real life, you know, experience on flying an airplane. And I've been hooked ever since. It just completely fascinated me that something can fly like that, and then how stuff works. I've always been like that. I've always been interested in understanding how things work. Like if you had to put a microwave in front of me when I was 13, I was probably taking it apart just to try to figure out how it works. So it's just aviation, it fascinated me, and it still does fascinate me the same way. Like I get just as excited at 39 as I did at 12, you know, when I first got into it. But yeah, that was the beginning for me, and I've been hooked ever since. And after that, I wanted to be a pilot. I had no idea how to do it, so I ended up, you know, trying to get in contact with the people that, you know, gave me the flight, and they told me how much it cost and so on and so forth. So I was like, okay, $6,000, because back then it was 60 flight hours for $100 a pop, which is $6,000. And I knew my mama didn't have $6,000. So I tried to be slick, you know, and at the time I was going to Eastside, not 12, 13. It was
East St. Louis Senior High School, which is Eastside. Okay.
Yeah. So I was going to Eastside at the time. I think I was in 9th grade, if I'm saying the time frame correctly. But yeah, I knew we didn't have $6,000. So I had the bright idea to, you know, if there's a nice car, then somebody's got money. So I never forget, it was a green Jaguar.
A nice car that a teacher is driving.
Yes,
and in your mind, that if they got a nice car, they got some money.
Yes.
All right. And what happened?
So I waited in the parking lot for hours. It was late. And the man finally comes out, and I just explained to him. I introduced myself like I'm all grown and stuff, you know, I explained to him what I'm trying to do. Like, hey, I need somebody to co-sign the $6,000 loan for me so I can get my pilot's license. And he was so impressed that I had the nerve to go that far to try to get somebody, you know what I'm saying, to do that for me, that he actually agreed to do it. So that was the beginning of me trying to get into it. But, you know, family
So did that
stuff.
work out?
No, it didn't.
It didn't work out.
I guess it was like a parent thing where maybe she didn't want to accept the money or something like that. But that
From
really,
a teacher.
Yeah.
So
I was like, you know what? I'm gonna figure out another way. You know what I'm saying? So that's when I ended up getting a job at the airport, literally just to wait on a pilot. I worked at a restaurant. You know what I'm saying? So I got a job at the airport, St. Louis Regional Airport, just to wait for a pilot to come through one day and ask them how do I become a pilot.
Not Lambert, St.
Louis Lambert.
St. Louis Lambert. Oh, okay then. And did you ever catch a pilot?
I did. And I asked him because that was the whole purpose. I was there for a couple, because, you know, you see him all the time, but it's a hit or miss of whether they come to your spot, you know.
Right.
He said, I said, sir, I've been waiting to, you know, talk to somebody, you know, try to figure out I want to become a pilot. And I was like, can you tell me how to become a pilot? He said, just work hard and don't get pregnant. I was like, okay.
So
Thanks for that information.
Right. So okay, so you never really learned how to fly then.
No. Nope.
But you engaged in mechanics dealing with planes.
Yes, so my specialty is electronics.
Okay,
Electronics.
electronics.
Yep.
So your vision when in terms of the founding of Minorities in Aviation, what is your vision there?
To bring aviation to communities that wouldn't normally have access to it. It breaks my heart to see, fast forward 15, 20 years later, and I come back, move back to the area, and it's kids and adults that are so interested in aviation but don't nobody know how to get into it. There are so many organizations, there are so many nonprofit organizations, there are so many aviation organizations, especially in the Midwest area. It is insane. The Midwest is a hot spot for aviation. But people don't come to our communities with this type of information. Nobody's going to come to us and say, hey, there's a scholarship out at this airport so you can get your pilot's license. Nobody's going to come to our schools and be like, hey, do you guys want to go on a discovery flight? So that was my motivation behind doing it, to bridge the gap on the information and the resources and the people who are interested in it. And then my tagline is, we can do it too. Okay? And that's my tagline because I've watched kids who can barely read, who have, trouble at school, trouble at home, just all kinds of, life problems. But I've watched kids who, with the bare minimum, mess with electronics and do stuff that I've seen grown men get paid a lot of money to do. So it's like in my mind, I know I'm not the only one. I knew I wasn't the only one that was interested in doing stuff like this. So when I say the tagline is, we can do it too, I want kids and our community to understand that we're more than capable of doing this too. We just don't have access to the same resources.
Okay, then on that note, we'll have to take another break.
As we feel the darkness pressing in upon us, both personal needs and needs in the world, society as a whole, it's easy for us to get depressed. And when we're depressed and negative and feeling hopeless, we're not going to be able to help anyone. That's why I daily have to draw strength from the Word of God. That's why I have to go on walks in the midst of the wonders of God's works. And that's why I have to be able to see something that's worked for many, many years in my life, is that Jesus Christ is the same yesterday, today, and forever, that He's with us always, even to the end of the world, and that we can be a light, letting His love and power flow in us and through us in a cold, dark world. There are people hurting out there. There's people that are crying out to God at this particular moment in the midst of their desperation. Can we be led by the Holy Spirit to them? Can we believe God to reach out and let His love flow through us and by faith help them meet their needs? That's the challenges that the Lord gives us in His Word. Experience the joy of really helping somebody else and letting the light and love of Christ shine in you and through you.
What a mighty God we serve. What a mighty God we serve. Angels bow before Him. Heaven and earth adore Him. What a mighty God we serve. What a mighty God we serve. What a mighty God we serve. Angels bow before Him. Heaven and earth adore Him. What a mighty God we serve. What a mighty God we serve. What a mighty God we serve. Angels bow before Him. Heaven and earth adore Him. What a mighty God we serve.
Welcome back to Conversation with Zaki Baruti. In studio with me is Genova West, who's the founder and president of Minorities in Aviation. On the other side of the break, you were, we're getting into the mechanics of your business or
Yes,
your
sir.
foundation,
Yes, sir.
your organization. What year were you founded?
So I started in 2019.
2019. Okay, then. Now, from 2019 to now, what kind of activities or what has been your focus of your organization?
Okay, let me tell you, this is the best part though. So like I said, in 2019, I started it out in Vegas. The coronavirus stuff happened, everything shut down, nothing really happened.
Oh, you
I had
started
the-
in Las Vegas. Okay.
Yeah,
go
because I was
ahead.
living out there for a couple years
Okay.
before this. And then when I came back home, I had the first, what is it called, the Discovery flight. I work with an organization called the Young Eagles. and that was the first event that I held, where it was like 75 kids came up there to fly airplanes. It was crazy.
What year? I mean, what age group?
For the young Eagles, it's ages 8 to 17.
8 to 17. And
yes.
they met out, where did they meet?
At the Cahokia Airport, St. Louis. I think it's St. Louis Regional in Cahokia.
Okay.
Yeah, and then everybody came out there. I got all the Minorities in Aviation T-shirts and gave them out. I served everybody food, and it was amazing.
Okay, then,
So-
and most of the students, were they from our community?
Oh,
but
absolutely.
predominantly black
They all were.
audience?
Yes, I had Hispanics there. I even had Indians there, or
Native
Middle
Americans,
Easterns, or something like that. But anybody, I welcome anybody into it, because it's such an amazing experience that most of us don't get to.
So that was a discovery. So they're going up in the air as young people?
So what happens is the pilots
explain
let
that.
them. Yes, it's so crazy. I got a lot of videos and everything. I wish I could show them, but so what happens is the pilots they teach the kids how to do like a little pre-flight. What you do when you're about to fly the airplane, and they get in the airplane. Depending on how many people are in there, some of them just sit in the back. Whoever is brave enough to sit in the front and want to take control is what they do. So they get them off the ground first, and then when they get in the air, they ask, "Do you want to do this?" And the kids actually get to fly the airplane. And then when they come back down, I'm like, "How was it?" And they're like, "Oh my God!" It's so crazy to watch how excited these babies get. So I'm like, I'm not crazy. This is as exciting as it you know what I'm saying, as I think it is. And it's so just amazing to watch the excitement, and just knowing that they would have never had this opportunity if I wasn't doing this.
I know that's
And
right.
I'm not the only one that's interested in doing stuff like this. So that's why it's so important for me to get all this information, these resources, and keep connecting people to it, because, it's not a coincidence that it's not a lot of minorities in aviation.
So with that, what other programs have you implemented?
So starting off, it was just the flying events. And then I've had things donated to me. So again, my primary is electronics. I did electronics, and I went back to learn how to work on engines and stuff. But the majority of the time I did electronics. That's my, master field. I had an electronics box donated to me from some organization. And basically what I do with the box is two things. I teach them about the lighting on the aircraft systems. And then I also teach them how to troubleshoot electricity. So on the back of the box is like switches and stuff to induce faults, and kids have to use the meter leads to figure out whether it's a short or whether it's an open, stuff like that.
So you have ongoing classes where you're teaching the young people electronics as it relates to aviation?
I wouldn't say ongoing. It's when the opportunity presents itself. Because there's a lot of different events. I do career fairs for the high schools and stuff like that. I go and talk to schools. I have like this really funny, entertaining aviation presentation that I give to middle schoolers, high schoolers. I even went to a couple of churches to talk to groups of, people there. So it's a lot of different things that I do.
So in terms of economic opportunities in that field, I want you to share what are those opportunities. But before we do that, we got to take one last break.
Behind me is the New Life Evangelistic Center administrative offices in Overland, Missouri. And this is where we shoot our shows for our worship shows and the Here's Help Network. And it's also where Zakid Baroudi and Bernie Hayes shoot their shows. You can find all of these shows at the New Life Evangelistic Center app, the NLEC TV app. You can also access them on your tablet or on your computer. And this is how you can stay up to date with all the things that New Life Evangelistic Center is doing. There are so many different programs that we've got going on, and God is doing many exciting things through partners like you. So if you want to support the work that New Life is doing, then please access and give through the app. You can go online at nlecstl.org, or give us a call at 314-421-3020. Again, 314-421-3020. But this is the best way to get plugged into the amazing work that New Life is doing through people like you. And so there is something for you to get involved in today. And we are so thankful for our partners. Only through the grace of God and your gift are we able to bless others today.
Have you discovered the benefits of giving? If you've received God's gift of eternal life through the giving of His Son. For God so loved the world that He gave His only begotten Son, as John 3:16 says, that whoever believeth in Him shall not perish but everlasting life. You will then discover the joy from giving to others. Freely we have received the grace of our Lord Jesus Christ. Once we've experienced Him and His reality as a part of our life, we're going to want to freely give to others that are in need. That's why Jesus said in Matthew 25, when I was hungry, did you feed me? Naked did you clothe me? Sick or in prison you visit me? A stranger did you welcome me? He said, as oft you've done to the least of these, even so you've done it to me. So first receive God's free gift of eternal life. It's a free gift, for by grace are you saved, that not of yourself, it's a gift of God. And then freely give. For it's truly more blessed to give than to receive, and He gives us so many opportunities to help on a daily basis. Let's let our light shine, and let's freely give as God has given unto us.
Welcome back to Conversation with Zaki Baruti. I want to have a couple more minutes with our guest, Genova West. Genova, your vision going forward in terms of getting more minorities in the field of aviation. What is your vision, and how can the listening audience help you?
So my plan is to create a place that I can bring kids or adults to, because I can teach anybody. Is to get funding to build a place, a hangar, classroom type area, so that I can teach electronics, so that I can get people hands-on experience.
Again, that's aviation electronics.
Yes, aviation electronics, absolutely. Because
Okay.
if you work on an airplane, you can work on anything. That's true. But yeah, that's my plan, is to get funding, to find funding, to build my own facility, so I'm not bouncing around, to different people's places and doing so on and so forth. And then through this facility, people will get training, kids will get training, adults will get training, whatever. The aviation industry is desperate for bodies. And this is something else I really want to say too, if you can work on a car, you can work on an airplane. People just don't know it. And then you get paid way more money to work on an airplane than you do to work on a car. So I just want to, again, connect these resources, create my own facility, get this training going. I actually have 3 airplanes now that I would love to get, adults who are interested in, build a team to teach people how to maintain the aircraft. There's so much work out here, it's crazy. And I'm just trying to fill those gaps with minorities.
Yeah, and not only in aviation, they're looking for the people who guide the planes into the air control.
All of it.
Yeah,
they're looking for technicians, electricians, engines, pilots. The industry is just wide open for people to flood in, and I'm just trying to, close that
Make
gap.
that happen.
Yes, sir.
So to make it happen, if somebody out here in the audience wanted to reach out to you, how would they get in contact with you?
Okay, so my website is www.minoritiesandaviation.aero. My email address is founder@minoritiesandaviation.aero, AERO, Alpha Echo Romeo Oscar. And then my business phone number is 618-424-4386.
Say it again.
My phone number is 618-424-4386.
Okay, then that's a great vision. And you say you have 3 planes?
Yes, I just got 3
Where
aircraft donated.
Where are they located at right now?
They're actually in somebody's yard over on the east side, because I didn't have any hangar space. I was just trying to move too many pieces. But yeah, those 3 aircraft, they're not flyable yet, but I would love to get a team of minorities, adults, teenagers, whoever, because you have never seen a team of minorities build an airplane before. So that's something I'm really excited about doing, is getting that team together and recording all that, putting it on YouTube, so on and so forth, just getting other people exposure. Because mathematically and scientifically, I could restore it myself, but I want to put other people in the game, you know what I'm saying? And then things that people can learn from me, they'll be able to take it anywhere.
I know that's right. So we got to make that happen. So all of you out there, let's make that happen so that that vision comes true. And we get more people into that field, especially there's a shortage. On that note, I want to thank you for sharing
Thank you.
your concept with our audience. And to my audience, elections are coming up, and you know what I'm going to say. You need to know about the issues. You need to go and vote. That is a responsibility of everybody, as well as everyone needs to belong to an organization that speaks truth to power. We say join the Universal African Peoples Organization. On that note, may God bless each and every one of you. See you next time.